Drake just can't let it go. Even after claiming his beef with Kendrick Lamar was over, he's dropped 11 new songs trying to rewrite the story of his summer meltdown, but the numbers don't lie. Those 3 fresh solo tracks that just wrapped up their first official week on the Billboard Hot 100 showed something shocking. The hype for new Drake music has never been this low. Fans aren't running to hear him like before, and that's a dangerous sign for someone who built his empire on constant chart domination. But instead of slowing down like the signals are screaming at him to do, Drake doubled down with another 3-pack of songs. And inside this latest drop, he finally let loose the long-teased Super Soak League, now officially renamed SOD. The crazy part? The version everyone first heard featured Lil Yachty, but he's gone. No more Yachty on the track, which raises questions about why that collaboration fell apart. And here's where it gets even more messy. On his last release, Drake had 21 Savage sliding in to take shots at Kendrick for him on It's Up. But this time, no shield, no co-pilot, just Drake stepping into the fire himself. That move makes the whole situation feel 10 times more desperate, like he knows he can't keep hiding behind his friends forever. Drake finally cracked and decided to speak straight to Kendrick Lamar with his new track, No Face. And he even brought Playboy Cardi along for the ride. This one's different because the lyrics make it clear it's the first song Drake has actually recorded after the beef with Kendrick, not some recycled vault joint. For months, he tried distracting everyone with side projects and random drops, but now he's actually stepping into the ring to address the mess head on. But here's the catch. When you're going up against what many are calling the most important rap beef of the century, the pressure isn't just heavy, it's crushing. Kendrick built those narratives so carefully that flipping them back is like trying to escape a trap with no exit. Drake isn't just battling Kendrick's bars, he's battling a whole storyline that the culture already bought into, and you can feel that weight in the sound itself. No Face has way darker production than we've heard from him recently, and Drake's delivery is sharper, less robotic, more alive, like he's actually fighting for breath in the booth. That switch up alone has fans talking, because it's the first time in months he hasn't sounded like he was just phoning it in. Yes, the bar was already on the floor after the summer he had, but this is Drake raising the stakes again. The track doesn't just sound different, it feels like a man trying to claw his way back from the bottom, and that makes his response to Kendrick a whole lot more fascinating than anyone expected. From the very first verse of No Face, Drake finally cracks open the door to his real headspace. And this time he doesn't hide behind smoke and mirrors. Instead of gaslighting listeners like nothing ever happened, he straight up acknowledges the tension that's been hanging over his career for months. And he doesn't just name drop Kendrick Lamar, he throws shots at future Metro Boomin and anyone else standing in his way. Drake spits, I gotta know how you get lit off the person you hated on. That's a direct jab at Kendrick, no doubt about it. It's Drake flipping the script, clowning Kendrick for dropping a party anthem about a man he claims to despise. In Drake's eyes, that makes Kendrick the strange one, dancing off the hate while still keeping his name alive. But Drake doesn't stop there. He takes it straight to the numbers game. He questions whether Kendrick's success with Not Like Us was even legit, firing off numbers untouchable. They got the data wrong. That's Drake basically accusing Kendrick of inflating streams with bots, a wild allegation that floated around after Not Like Us smashed records as the most streamed diss track ever. So what's really happening here? Drake is trying to rewrite the narrative, paint himself as the bigger man, and strip credibility from the hits that nearly buried him. It's bold, it's desperate, and it shows just how cornered he feels. Drake comes in swinging with, "This is the moment I know they've been preying on." Trying on the boy, but F it, I'm staying on. He sets the stage like he's about to unleash something world-shaking. But let's be real, after nearly 15 tracks since this beef started, it's tough to believe the hype. At this point, fans don't want more teases or self-flattery. They want to actually hear him land a real knockout, not just promise one. Then the second verse shifts the tone. Here, Drake strips away the bravado and digs into the mess surrounding his career and life right now. He raps, "Cause I keep on talking about beefing and business and money and women, it's no diagnosis." They emptied the clip. That's him finally admitting what everyone already knows. That Kendrick, Future, Metro, and the rest of his rivals went all out, unloading everything they had to try and bury him alive. At first, it sounds like he's conceding defeat, but Drake being Drake, he flips it right back. He follows up with, "Quick switch that out. And I came back reloaded." I'm just so happy that people who envied and held that stuff in got to finally showing. I'm over the moon. Yeah, we'll see you, boy. Soon I'm spreading my wings. That's him trying to spin his lowest moment into a rebirth story, painting himself as a phoenix rising from the ashes. The problem? After so many half-hearted comebacks, fans are split between thinking this is Drake's rebirth or just another dramatic bluff. Drake spits, "I hop out cocoon. I'm studio trapping, I'm locked in the room." And right here, he unloads the sharpest disses on the whole track. He aims to downplay Kendrick Lamar's triumphs, twisting the rivalry into some one-sided obsession on Kendrick's part. Drake tries to sound unbothered, acting like he's amused that people who dislike him have made a name for themselves by attacking him in music. But that mask slips, because by the end of the verse, he drops hints that he's not finished. There's a shadow of revenge hanging in his words, a clear warning that he's plotting something to settle the score. He wants us to believe he's above it all, yet he's clearly itching to strike back. That contradiction makes the whole thing feel less like confidence and more like paranoia spilling into the booth. And here's the kicker. If this had been the first track Drake dropped after the beef or a teaser leading into some huge project, it might have felt bold. But after dumping what's basically an album's worth of features and singles all summer with almost zero real impact, this feels hollow. For the first time in his career, the cultural needle isn't moving when Drake speaks, and that silence is deafening. What we're left with is an overblown vanity track. Drake trying to reignite fires against rivals who already torched him, especially Kendrick Lamar. Instead of sparking a comeback, it just highlights how badly the tables have turned. Drake opens with, "I hop out cocoon, I'm studio trapping, I'm locked in the room." And from there, he throws out what are meant to be his most dangerous shots. He zeroes in on Kendrick Lamar, trying to twist the beef into a picture of one-sided obsession, like Kendrick is the one who can't let go, and by pretending he's happy that haters built careers off dissing him, Drake tries to play the role of the untouchable giant watching smaller artists rise off his shadow. But listen closer, and the cracks show, because toward the end of the verse, Drake basically admits he's not finished. He hints at revenge, at something brewing behind closed doors, like he's already plotting the next counterattack. That's not calm confidence. That's a man rattled, lashing out while trying to look composed. The contradiction is loud, and it makes this whole verse feel less like dominance and more like a veiled cry for validation. Here's the real problem. If this track had been a fresh opener after the beef, or even a teaser to something major, it might have hit different. But after Drake's summer flood of singles and features that barely shook the culture, this feels stale. For the first time in his career, a Drake release doesn't control the conversation, and that silence screams louder than his bars. Instead of being a statement of power, No Face comes across as a desperate warning shot. Drake is still swinging at Kendrick and everyone else who cornered him, but the world already saw him lose, and no amount of bravado can erase that. The real question everyone's asking is simple. Why is Drake still talking about what he might do instead of actually doing it? The clock ran out months ago, and every day he waits, his grip on the culture slips further away. Fans, critics, even casual listeners are watching him stall, and it's killing the aura he once had. Stack that on top of the wreckage from his battle with Kendrick Lamar, the bad singles, the half-baked features, the endless music drops nobody cared about, and the story writes itself. People think Drake has lost it. They don't believe he's got the spark to come back swinging, and instead of proving them wrong, he keeps teasing like he's plotting some master plan. And that's the problem. The song isn't outright terrible, it's listenable, but nothing from Drake right now feels seismic. Not this track, not the last 3-pack, not even the collabs. A few years ago, a new Drake single would freeze the industry. Now, it barely makes a ripple. That fall off is shocking, especially for someone who once dominated every corner of the charts. But here's the twist. Despite all the public unbothered energy he tries to give off, his lyrics reveal the truth. He's still stuck on the beef, still replaying it in his head, still obsessing over revenge. Instead of moving forward, Drake's mind is chained to the past, and no amount of fronting can hide that. Drake is only making himself look more desperate, running around without a clear identity, tossing away whatever integrity he once had, and flinging out tracks like darts in the dark, hoping one finally sticks. Every release feels less like artistry and more like damage control, a frantic attempt to patch up a reputation that's crumbling in real time. And with this new 3-pack, the reaction says it all. Fans aren't buzzing about the drop as a whole, they're only zeroing in on No Face because that's the track where Drake tries to stir up trouble with the same people who wrecked his image. It's the only song creating chatter, but not because it's good, because it reopens wounds everyone thought were already settled. The problem is Drake's threats are vague. He raps about rivals being obsessed with him and warns that they should be scared of his comeback. But we've heard this before. Last time he tried to go head-to-head with Kendrick, he embarrassed himself with The Heart Part 6, a diss track so bad it instantly became a meme. Instead of striking fear, it turned him into the punchline of the industry. Now, with no face, he's stirring the pot again, poking at the same rivals who already left him battered. He wants people to believe he's sharper, hungrier, more ready than ever for revenge. But outside of his own words, everything else, the flop singles, the fading reputation, the industry's laughter, screams the opposite. Drake insists he's back on top, but the world isn't buying it. At this stage, Drake isn't rebuilding his legacy, he's dragging it further into the mud. Every time he tries to frame himself as the mastermind plotting revenge, he only reminds the world of how badly Kendrick and the others exposed him. The longer he hangs onto this storyline, the more it feels like desperation, not domination. And let's be clear, Drake has already drowned the summer in music. Features, singles, random 3-packs, he's flooded the market like never before. But instead of controlling the culture, he's watching it move on without him. For the first time in over a decade, Drake's voice doesn't dictate the conversation, and that silence is brutal. With no face, he's clinging to the only angle left, reigniting beef. The song reads like a warning shot, but it's one we've heard before. Fans can't forget that when he last went head-to-head with Kendrick, the result was a disaster that made him the laughingstock of hip-hop. Repeating the same tired threats now just makes him look stuck in a loop, recycling old bravado without delivering anything new. So what does all this mean? It shows that Drake isn't over the beef. He's haunted by it. His rivals already celebrated their wins, but he's still pacing in circles, trying to convince the world he's not finished. The irony? By holding on to this feud so tightly, Drake's making himself look weaker with every verse he drops. Deflated streaming numbers, fading hype, and back-to-back flop songs are painting the real picture. Drake's comeback is slipping through his fingers. This latest diss feels less like a strike and more like a late swing in a fight he already lost. And just like Kendrick Lamar was reportedly unfazed when he first heard Family Matters, you can bet if Kendrick even bothers to hear this, he'll be laughing harder than ever at Drake's expense. So here's the real question. Do you think these new disses actually help Drake repair his crumbling reputation in hip-hop? Or is this just more smoke with no fire, setting him up for an even bigger downfall if round 2 ever comes? The whole industry is watching, but the silence around these tracks speaks louder than Drake's own words. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I need to know what you think about this madness. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because trust me, this story is far from over. Catch you in the next one.